What is the dumbest way you got laid? Left the oven on from dinner before going on a date to see a film. Paranoid about the house burning down while at the cinema on a date. Whisper to her about these concerns so we leave. We get home and I rush in and turn off the oven. Date says wait. You actually left it on? Then we had sex. Made a friend some jam tarts. Which impressed her housemate enough to pursue me. I'm not much of a looker. And she was incredible. Don't know why it all happened. Woke up to a commotion outside my room the morning after a night out. It was my flatmate with some girl he'd brought home. He was out separately, and her friend just chatting. I got up all groggy. Went to the bathroom and when I came back this girl's friend just followed me back into bed and that was that. Later I found out that she assumed she had come back with me originally. But just woke up on the sofa for some reason. I guess she just decided to resume from where she thought we had been. Definitely the least amount of effort I've ever had to put into getting laid. Was a virgin at the time. Had some people over playing Cards Against Humanity. It's not a serious game even when you're playing it. So sometimes we would show people the card we drew as a replacement if it was like perfect for the hand we had just played. I don't remember what the black card we were playing to was anymore. But I drew the friends with benefits white card and it would have been perfect for it. So I leaned over and showed my friend sitting next to me. Later everyone left and she stayed behind and we were talking and she assumed I meant it as a request. I hadn't even thought of that but rolled with it. Task failed successfully. I was taking care of a professor's kitten, MR. Milk. And another student was as well. There was a schedule. Somehow we got crossed up and ended up there at the same time. And a night later we were banging. Met this girl once and about 3 months later I saw her again and she got really excited to see me. We were talking for a little bit and out of nowhere bet me that I didn't remember her name. Well I did and she was instantly turned on by that. Basically dragged me to her house by my belt buckle. Whoa. That's like 10% luck. 20% skill. 15% concentrated power of will. 5% pleasure. My best friend and I were having a going away party as we were moving out of state. We pretty much looked alike. Both tall with long shoulder length hair. One of our mutual friends arranged for him to get laid as a going away gift. All the girl knew about him was he's tall with long hair. Long story short. He cut his hair the day before the party and I ended up getting laid. Had a chick literally follow me home. I was on rollerblades so I was nice and waited at every corner for her. Apparently that was enough. You got laid wearing rollerblades? Whoa. Took a bet in a pub in Toronto. Went to a girl and whispered to her ear I can speak French between your legs. Was ready and waiting for the physical comeback to hit my face. Instead she spilled all of her drink through her nose and we ended up at her place. I hope you properly followed through and shouted bonjour at her vagina. Was waiting for my female friend to finish a phone conversation. And got bored enough to wash the small mountain of dishes in her sink. Never forget the look on her face. FWB for a few ecstatic weeks after that before we realized I was falling for her. Ended it. We would never have worked out as a couple. But wow, best experiences ever. So yeah. Wash them dishes. We were watching Rocky Horror Picture Show and he asked if I ask politely. Will you have sex with me? I was planning to anyway but the way he asked made me laugh. I asked politely to lose my virginity back in the day. So that might be a bit of a dumb way to go about it. No gimmicks. Just would you mind if I lost my V card to you? It'd be nice if my first time was with someone I knew and trusted. No awkwardness after. Just a one-off so I can learn. That worked. Met a girl on Tinder and we decided to bake cookies together at 1 AM after I left work. As soon as the cookies were done she looked over at me and asked if I wanted to go FCK. Bro you dropped this at a party. Very drunk. I stumble up to a friend talking to several people I don't recognize. I say hey and just sort of nod along to the conversation. Random girl in the group says something like it's not a party till people start making out. So I drunkenly ask why we aren't making out, which I cringe at now. She asks if I'm serious. I say yeah. We make out for maybe 5 seconds. And conversation resumes. I keep bumping into her throughout the night. We keep making out longer and harder. Eventually we go back to her car to screw. As a disclaimer, I'm really not that hot. I just didn't give her FCK. At a party when a really cute Asian girl ran up to me holding her hair awkwardly and asking me where the bathroom was. I told her and she grabbed my hand and pulled me down the hall with her. In the bathroom she said she needed help washing the ketchup out of her hair. She let go of her hair and in her hand was a couple of ketchup packets. Then she says, "Okay. Let's take a shower. Who am I to argue?" Full stop. To this day, I have no idea what her name was. To this day, I have no idea what her name was. I told her that we should FCK. Just as a joke. We should FCK. Haha, I'm only joking. Unless you actually wanted to. Straight up asked a girl by the end of a party if she wanted to bang. Just like that. So, wanna bang? She said no. Then I asked her if she had better plans for the night. Which landed me a hug. Fair enough and boom. Laid. I'm not that hot. Just a fit the 4th of June 2010, oddly 7-8 to gay dudes. Had a girl grab me by the dick. Tell me she wanted it right now. Then after an embarrassingly short duration of her tornado hipping me to ejaculation, she put her panties on and started crying saying Jesus wouldn't love her because of what she'd done. No, she wasn't a virgin. So I apologized completely confused and made the resolution of that never happening again. 6 years later she saw one of my friends and casually said that I RP'd her after asking how I was doing. I hooked up with a co-worker at a rave and had sex with her in the backseat of a Honda Civic in Austin. She cried for an hour after that because her father abused her. I did not know that. The next day at work she was totally fine. Let's make this a commercial for the new Honda Civic. Rave. Party hard. Drugs. F-king your co-worker in a Honda Civic. Father. Abuse. Crying. Next day in the office. Awkward looking to the ground when you pass each other. Total shot of you stirring your coffee. The monotonous BSSSSSS of the lighting BSSSS along. A short smirk comes across your face. Honda. The power to surprise. In college, I met a girl at a party and we hit it off. We started hanging out and she told me she liked making sweets and her favorite was rock candy. Eventually I got the "I don't know if I want a relationship right now" text and that crushed me. Saturday night. I was drinking at home wallowing in my sorrow when I got a text from her asking if I wanted to try making rock candy. My stupid drunk ass thought she actually wanted to make candy. So I walked the 3 blocks to her house and told her I was ready to make some. She said I didn't invite you over to actually make rock candy. Part of me was disappointed I didn't get to make any candy, but hey. Forgettable drunk SX. She got some cock candy instead. Played spin the bottle with 3 other friends. 2 friends were given some kind of lame dare to kiss each other but were embarrassed to kiss in front of me and my female friend. So female friend says let us go out the room so they can kiss. Don't take a second. I leave the room with her so my other friends can kiss in private, which I thought was weird. She closes the door, proceeds to start passionately kissing me, and before I know it we had sex up the wall of my bathroom. She was pretty much a 10/10 and I am not. Couldn't believe my luck. Maybe you are a 10/10. When I was 18 I was at a costume party after being dumped by a guy earlier that day. A few drinks later and after venting to my best friend, I got up, stood in the yard and said I just want to FCK someone who doesn't care about me. Guy standing near me in a cow costume turned his head, said let's go, and led me into the house and upstairs. And that's how I became a furry. My wife FK'd up and married me. I've been laid more than 7 times. I went to use a public phone box. Yes. I am that old, and there was a lady who came up to it just behind me. I actually didn't want to make the call, so I said that she could go first. After her call she waited outside the phone booth. And when I was done she said that she was so touched by my chivalrous actions that she wanted to buy me a drink. We jumped in her car and she took me straight to her place and we had sex. It was pretty awesome. Drunkenly asked a random girl who I'd met on Bumble for a lift home from town. We had only been speaking for about a week. I hadn't sent any photos, aside from the app, or spoken over voice video call, so it literally could have been anyone. She agreed to take me home but I was already in the taxi home by that point. I gave her my address and she came over. I ordered us pizza. We ate and then it happened. Was fun. 10/10 would recommend. Accidentally ended up on a Valentine's date last year. Was just looking for people to go to karaoke with. She asked what I was doing on Thursday last year. I said karaoke and asked if she wanted to go. She said sure if we could get dinner first. Realized a day later I'd just agreed to a proper date, so booked a fancy restaurant. She wanted to get shots afterwards. I was like cool. Karaoke bar is a few blocks away but she insisted on some bar in the party district. Shots do nothing to me but she got terpsed up and started macking me, then told me to invite her back to her place. I did, but part of me was like, but we haven't even gone to karaoke. Broke my foot in a motorcycle accident. I worked with a cute redhead and she was feeling extra bad for me and I was feeling my pain meds and casually asked her if she was into cheap, meaningless sex. She smiled and we had sex that night. I only saw her once after that night but she was cool as hell. I was chatting with a girl and just asked out of the blue, "So, your place or mine?" She looked me up and down, took a drag off her cigarette and said, "Mine. Chug your beer, let's go." I went to a karaoke club in a different city. It was very full. So I sat outside and had a smoke. A random girl walks up, asks for a lighter, then tells me that her friend has an architecture office around the corner and if I want to come. I did want to come. So I went. It would be really easy for me to get murdered, I guess. Pirating FF7 Advent Children. Was talking to a girl online that was a big anime JRPG fan. And I asked her to come over and watch it. It had just come out. This was 2004 or something. Her answer was sure. But you should know I'm pretty easy. She came over. We watched the movie for a bit and then we started making out and she said it's a shame I'm on my period but I heard a real captain also sails the Red Sea, so I put down a towel and went to town. Bad lay though. Total starfish. Had one repeat performance a week later. But she still wasn't great. Come to think of it, I don't think she even touched my dick at all. Girl from high school and we were super into each other. We dated for a while but she didn't want to have sex until she was married. So I married her. Oldest trick in the SLTTY woman's book. And you fell for it. Had an affair with my mental health social worker. She was a terrific lay. But it all ended very badly. Which I knew it would. It shouldn't have happened. But it did. I have a male social worker looking after me now. So I guess I won't have that problem again. Or will you? I was at a party and out of the blue a random girl just walked up and asked me if I wanted to FCK her. I was confused and asked if she was serious. I was drunk and I think I asked her, "Woman, wanna hang out?" Yep. That's it. At IKEA. Wouldn't it be fun to go FCK in one of the fake showers? It was. It was fun to FCK in one of the fake showers. FK'd a guy I met over PlayStation while playing Warframe. It was definitely worth it since he's a sweetheart and we've been together for about a year or so. Some 20 years ago I was at the university. At a party I got into a conversation with a girl about the latest book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. Far from being a turn off and showing what a massive geek I am was. That girl actually loved the Wheel of Time and other fantasy novels. One thing led to another and we ended up doing the naked conga at my place. Never thought my love for fantasy novels would get me laid. At the bar at 2:30 am, lights come on. Pay my tab, get ready to leave. Girl is at the bar by herself. Turns to me and says, "My boyfriend cheated on me. You want to get laid?" I said yes. I once randomly texted a girl that my friend gave me the number. I said, "Hey, it's the Brad Pitt of insert city here." I then proceeded to lose my virginity to her. Best 3 seconds of my life. I was drunk at a party. I went up to a stranger and asked her wanna FCK, and it somehow worked out. It was bad though. Drunk sex is not fun. I showed this girl B the first time we hung out. There ended up being a post about innocent out ties and I asked and she said she didn't know, so I told her to take off her pants and show me and then we FK'd. One of the most attractive girls I've ever been with. But gosh, she was an awful FCK. You're probably one of the few people in history who can say 4chan helped them get laid. Chillin' in her dorm. She blurted out that her nipples were so big they took up her whole titty. I called her bluff till she pulled them out. They were rather disproportionate, but I digress. Edit. Wasn't my line but the guy's line that worked, lol. So I went to my, now ex, BFS house before we walked to school together every day. I lived far from school. He lived a 5-minute walk. Him 17. Me 16, legal age of consent and NZ is 16. So one morning I get to his house early and he says, "So do you wanna go to school or go to my room?" Once I was invited for the 100th birthday of a grandpa of a friend of mine. I banged the cousin of my friend there. Apparently all the guests heard her. My fav though is another one. A pub disco thing, I notice a girl looking at me. I approach. And for a very brief but awkward moment I said nothing. I was just looking at her eyes and then, lol. I said the dumbest shit ever that would have resulted in a slap in all the other possible scenarios. Wanna bang? Trombiamo? In Italian. Met a girl on Facebook. Chatted with her for like a few hours before she told me she wanted to come over. We lived 2 hours apart. I thought she was joking until she messaged me to pick her up from the train station. That same f***ing day. So well. Picked her up and we had great sex. She went full psycho the next day. We FK'd. So apparently we had a relationship now, according to her. She wanted to see my phone to check if I was talking to any other girl, etc. Anyway. Got my first rim job as well. Was great. I was trying to watch the movie Romancing the Stone and the girl I was dating at the time decides, unprompted, to give me a BJ right there in the living room. Who's gonna say no to that? I couldn't even tell you anything about the movie if I wanted to. So, you could say, she romanced the bone? Was a virgin and on my 19th birthday 2 girls, I knew one but not the other, sat down on my bed in my room during a pre-game event and basically said, "Which of us do you want to have sex with?" and I replied with a tentative both. And they looked at each other and just rolled with it. Still amazed that worked to this day and that the rest of college was not nearly as easy to get laid as I thought after that experience. A girl I work with invited me out to go shopping with her for some art supplies. On the way to the store she hit a pothole and said she'd call AAA to come out and fix it. I know how to change a tire, so I told her not to waste the time waiting for the repair guys to come out, so I just changed the tire myself. She bought me a soda from the gas station we stopped at and later that night we did the deed. I'm convinced the tire change is the X factor in this story even though she says it isn't. We've been dating 8 months now. This is actually how I lost my virginity. I was sat in the living room with him and all of his friends. It's over 10 years ago now, so I can't really remember how it came up, but we were a mixed gender group of teenagers, so naturally people were sucking F-king and all that jazz. One of the boys, whose house it actually was, called me out and asked if I'd had sex, to which I replied that I hadn't. Someone, I cannot remember who, dared him to take my virginity. He looked at me. I looked at him. And I specifically remember shrugging. 10 minutes later I was on the top bunk of his tiny little room that he shared with his 10,383,738 other siblings. Gritting my teeth and trying not to react to what felt like someone putting something somewhere it most certainly did not belong. He finished. Held up the bloody condom in disgust. We went back downstairs and carried on the day hanging out as normal. So f***ing weird. That sounds awful.